Let me tell you a little bit about BetOnline. It remains your number one spot for NBA, MLB, MMA, boxing. It doesn't matter. Every single prop, every single play, every single point, it's all at BetOnline. When it comes to bets, when it comes to props, everything that you need is at your headquarters for sports betting. That's BetOnline. Head to the website right now, use your mobile device, sign up, get a 50% welcome bonus. Don't forget to use the promo code BLEAV, that's Believe, to get yourself a 50% welcome bonus. Come on, there's no need to hesitate. BetOnline, where the game starts. All right, let's get down to business. An active lifestyle can cause hemorrhoids. That sucks. Lucky for you, they're south of the border. South of the border is a holistic approach to dealing with the affected area. Go to southoftheborder.com, use code AHOLE, AHOLE, get yourself 30% off. That's pretty rad. And this is not an area of your body you want to put bad ingredients in. Make sure you turn to South of the Border. Southoftheborder.com, code AHOLE.
I hope you're ready to have your mind blown with the greatest health and fitness information on the planet.
Yes, bitch!
Welcome to the Mikey Likes You podcast. Thank you first and foremost to Giorgio Crucisapanopoulos, the thick-putzoed Greek stallion. And First Attachment, the greatest health and fitness supplements on the planet. Get yourself a little bit of a discount by using the code Mike10. And then also BetOnline, who has been with me since the beginning, south of the border. What you need to turn to if you have hemorrhoids. And I know you're like, whoa, that came out of left field. Actually, no. One of the biggest reasons people develop hemorrhoids or problems in the anal region is working at a bathhouse, but also is lifting heavy weights. Lifting heavy weights, a lot of pressure to the trunk develops hemorrhoids, and it can commonly. So if that is a problem, there's no better place to turn than south of the border. They make amazing products. It's a great company, and they like having a sense of humor about the whole situation because it is an uncomfortable situation in many ways. But it's all holistic, organic ingredients, stuff that you can feel safe putting on the most absorbent part of your body. All right, so we are going to get started today. I have been devoting a lot of the show to just random thoughts in my head for the last couple weeks, but today I really want to focus in on stuff that is a little bit more fitness-based, because I've been having, with the new year coming recently, a lot of people asking me very pointed fitness questions. And so I want to dive into a couple that I think are very important, and then also elaborate on them and give you a couple tips on how to deal with that. One of the biggest reasons people get involved in any type of fitness endeavor, and you can lie and say that this is not true, but this is absolutely true. There's a reason why fitness supplements, fitness equipment, gym membership, we're talking trillions of dollars. And it's not because people want to better themselves or see how much they can make of themselves, and they're going to examine who they are as a man or as a woman from the inside out. It's because you want to look better. That is bottom line, okay? And that's okay. There's a carryover. There's this Venn diagram of health that by virtue, and people need to understand this, and this is my biggest problem with the plus size acceptance stuff, is that I agree. You should not judge someone. There should be zero judgment about someone's character or their value as a human on how they look, whether they're overweight, whether they're jacked. And that bothers me a lot, that I see a lot of fitness influencers out there with the motivating background music, acting like they're a prisoner of war who survived an internment camp and then came back to save lives, or or they're Nelson Mandela because you're ripped. No, it's cool and it takes a lot of work, but like, stop with the whole I'm gonna build 9 reels a day about like, I decided to not listen to the haters. I went for it. It's like, really? You got a great physique, dude. What's your life like? Who are you you could beat women, but you have a 6-pack. So you're going to make motivational reels and talk about how you're you've elevated and enlightened yourself, like suck my balls. It's not that big a deal, and it doesn't make you a better person or a worse person. It just is. You have a great physique. Good for you, chick. Good for you, dude. There is some sign that you might not be a complete pile of poo because you willingly engage in uncomfortable stuff, and you do it a lot, and that's cool and that's valuable. But you could be a completely immoral pile of shit. A completely immoral, irresponsible piece of excrement. So stop it with the condescending kind of content that seems like you've elevated yourself in some way. All right. That being said, there's the whole alternative part of the spectrum is that people are now like, it doesn't matter if you're 50% body fat. It's all about accepting yourself. Well, no, not really. Because all form mortality, all markers of health, all of them dramatically increase. All form mortality dramatically decreases. All of it goes away if you lose lots of weight. If you are overweight and you lose weight, your blood sugar becomes better immediately. Your blood sugar and your blood pressure, your levels of dangerous cholesterol, your propensity to develop cancerous tumor, everything is better with your health. Your, barring the extreme where you get too lean, your cognitive function, your chances of development of certain cognitive problems as you age. These are all very serious things. The quality of your birth, if you give birth, like what could potentially happen with your children. Everything has been shown by science to be dramatically improved if you get yourself into a healthy weight range. So I don't think that we should, in both regards, throw the baby out with the bathwater, where if you get really lean or muscular, you are now a good person and everything's okay. No. If you are dramatically overweight, all you need to do is accept yourself, and if society judges you, everything's wrong. That's wrong. No, there's a very comfortable middle ground. That Venn diagram does exist, where it does show something if you can keep yourself in check, especially in today's day and age, where comfort food is so readily available, and it's so highly palatable and delicious and affordable, in glaring contrast to a lot of more elaborate, harder to prepare, more expensive health foods. Okay, it does say something about you, but it doesn't make you a better person. And if you're fat, it doesn't make you a bad person. But we shouldn't just blindly accept either. Okay, so if at the core of what most people are looking to do is lose body fat, lose weight, if you're dramatically overweight, I want to give you a couple unknown tips. I don't want to say unknown. These are stuff that I have discovered there. I don't see them written about that have made a huge difference for me. Okay. And I have 3 tips for you, and a couple of them you're going to be like, well, wait a second. That doesn't seem to make much sense, but I will try to narrow it down. The first one I want to give to you is the most out of left field. And it is something that I didn't discover until the last couple of years. And this is true. I think this will make a huge difference in controlling how you eat. Get more in touch with nature. Do I think you need to become a farmer like I did? Do you need to move to a rural area? And no, but especially people in very urban areas, go out of your way at least a couple times a week and really take your headphones out, put your screen away, and maybe start a internal gardening. If you live in New York City, if you live in Silver Lake, you live in downtown Austin, you can have internal plants. You can water them. You could grow. You could find different soils. And if you actually get in touch with animals and you see what animals eat to develop different tasting meat, if you see how different types of elevation affect different types of animals, how different animals can invade certain areas where they're not necessarily supposed to be in, and how they interact with the animals that are kind of supposed to be there. I don't have to get so extensive as to talk about like the way that I feed my chickens dramatically impacts the way they lay eggs. It does. But I don't think that that's relatable to most people. There's a very small percentage of people that are going to have their own chickens, okay? But that's one thing. I brought a bunch of eggs on the plane, by the way, thank you. I didn't ship them. On my carry-on, I took a bunch of eggs to Los Angeles to give to the Jason Ellis crew last time I was there. And
is that legal?
I didn't think so. My wife goes, because I have like 20 chickens, somewhere in that ballpark. We have so many goddamn eggs, because I don't sell eggs. I just collect them. I have 20 dozen eggs in my house right now, right? So I walk around town making it rain eggs, okay? Like diamond dollars at a strip
You have
club.
over 200 eggs at your house right now for no reason?
That's extreme. I probably have, right now, in my refrigerator, I have 75 eggs. I guarantee it.
How big of an omelet could that make?
Probably the size of this, like, throw rug here.
I'm erect.
Yeah. No, it's great. I mean, if you're a guy like me, so I just like go out of my way to eat a lot of eggs, but I've noticed my wife is like very into holistic health, you know. And she eschewed, and it's kind of a pain in the ass. We don't just get big bulk chicken feed at like Tractor Supply or the local farm stores. She makes her own. She gets huge bulk things of like these things that she's researched to be very beneficial to certain different types of chickens, and she mixes them together in this big, and I have to keep them in vats and keep them in good levels of moisture, and it's the whole thing like cigars. And we feed them this, and their eggs are massive, and you crack them, and the yolks are just this unbelievable deep rich color. Okay, so having that connection to it makes me appreciate the food I eat so much more, because I see a little bit of a connection to it. Here's a simple one, right? If you have a cat or a dog, double down a little bit and put a little bit more effort into what you feed them, and just watch. I have the Great Pyrenees, and then I have inside dogs. I have normal person dogs that live inside with us, right? But I have these two Great Pyrenees that guard the farm, and they live outside, and they're 100 pounds each. They're big boys, and they're essentially wild animals that have like they've kind of peeked into domesticated animal territory by being safe to be around your family. You know, they guard the farm animals. You know, we feed them raw meat. Okay. Research it. It's actually just, it's what they would prefer instead of like kibble, and so you can feed them that. But these dogs, they're, like I said, they're practically a little bit wolf. You know, they're kind of wild, and they're big, and they're muscular, and they're very primal. So we start feeding them. We'd order bulk meat, which was mixed with, it's a ground beef puck. That's ground beef mixed with organs and a little bit of bone, right? So I feed them these pucks, and then tons of them. They eat a couple pounds of meat a day, each of them. And they just blew up. Like, they're so jacked, and they're so active, and their eyes are bright and everything. So I started feeding the inside dogs that. Like, replaced them. You know, at the time, we were already giving them kind of hoity-toity, fancy dude dog food, and we replaced it. Now the inside dogs eat that. Well, by the way, minimum at the time, she was 17. I got her in 2005, and she wasn't a puppy. She was my friend's dad is a slumlord, Filipino guy. And she's like, dude, my dad had this tenant, and they just moved out and left this dog here. In 2005, I was married to my first wife, and I'm asleep, getting ready to go on the radio the next day at like 4 a.m. And it's like 8 o'clock at night, and I'm like, huh? And my ex-wife comes in, she's like, Mike. I'm like, what? She's like, so-and-so just came in, and she has a dog she wants us to take. And I go, what? I already have 2 chihuahuas. I'm always like, fuck that. And she goes, listen, dude. So her dad's a slumlord, literally. He runs low-income housing, and they had a tenant that just moved out and left the dog. Like, who the fuck are you, right? And so he didn't know what to do with it. So she offered to. So I get this dog in 2005. Her name was Coco. Ratty ass little mutt dog, like junkyard dog, ratty, wiry hair and stuff. But I loved her to death. So this is 2022. She's still kicking. She's still but she's an old dog, right? No teeth and shit, blind. I started switching her and the other inside dogs to raw meat, and she had a second win. She made it all the way to this October. So now she's looking at at the very least 19, which is kind of like right home to mom about a 19-year-old dog. And she wasn't 19 oh God, lying there. She was running around. She died running around in the farm. So I saw how, and then in my other inside dogs, I saw how they changed by just getting them to eat things that were a little bit more appropriate for them. By doing that, by gardening, by seeing how different soil grows different types of plants, the different colors, you get in touch with it, and you have a better understanding of what it is you're putting in your mouth. And then what I've noticed is when I'm in a rush and I'm busy, a lot of times, 3 or 4 times a week, I do my meal prep, I do my thing, and I make it a very concerted effort to eat the food I want to eat, right? But, sometimes life gets busy. I have to end up picking my daughter sick at school, so I have to change all my plans and drive out to Austin and pick her up. I'll stop by 7-Eleven and get a protein bar, right? And wash it down with a protein shake and some nuts. Now, since being a farmer and doing that and really getting my hands dirty with animals and with plants, I don't. I'll be I'll just wait till I get home. I'll be hungry. I don't give a shit, because I'll look on the back of that label and I'm I don't know. I don't think that's supposed to go in my body. I'm sure it'll taste okay and it might service me, but no, I'm not going to do that. I stopped drinking energy drinks based on that. By the way, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it. A little caffeine and amino acids with some artificial sweetener, probably not a big deal. But something about that process, I'd look at the back of that can and I was is this really, can I just have a cup of coffee? I bet you that would probably be a better choice.
So you do caffeine still?
Oh, I'm a caffeine addict. Didn't I just come in with a big iced coffee?
I didn't know what that was. That could have been decaf.
That's a good point.
Yeah, with you, I never want to judge or question.
But do you really think I would? I asked you if you wanted coffee before I got here. I texted you. Do you think I'd really stop at a coffee house on my way to get some fucking decaf?
I think you would stop at a coffee house, not get anything for yourself, and just get me a coffee.
I would.
Yeah,
but
I assume that's what you were doing.
I didn't. No. I'm a caffeine, and I'm a caffeine proponent. I will be on the board of caffeine for the American health industry, because I think it's just like nicotine. Caffeine's gotten an incredibly bad rap. It's the best drug there is.
Would you say coffee is the best for inducing caffeine?
I do. I think there's an argument to be made for some teas, but in general, I do think black coffee or some greens and black teas, they have been shown to carry some other things. But the guys at Keto Gains did a whole thing about this that really illuminated something to me. They're we're admitting we can't get to the bottom of why, but we've seen with a couple hundred clients and ourselves, even with the exact same measured amount of caffeine coming from pills or coming from an energy drink or something like 5 Hour Energy, something about coffee above and beyond the caffeine makes it easier to lose body fat and to kind of, and I suspect there's an extraordinary high level. People, health nuts go against coffee, right? They're but you have to look at the micronutrients. Coffee has one of the highest antioxidant properties of any substance. Coffee beans are crazy high in antioxidant properties. I don't know. It goes, I suspect it's one of two things. People who are concerned about their health and drink coffee are also going to drink a lot of water too, because they're going to go, I can't just drink this hot coffee. I have to also. So I think that you're just flooding yourself with probably a little bit more hydrated. I do think that there is some type of hunger blunting property to There's clearly hunger curbing properties to caffeine. I think it goes above. Something about coffee also will kind of blunt hunger.
It's the only way I can intermittent fast.
Yeah.
Some people say it breaks your fast. I don't really know. I'm
Not black coffee. I don't think it does. Martin Burkhan, who if you say otherwise, you're lying. Martin Burkhan is the godfather of intermittent fasting. He's the guy who made it a thing. Back in like 2010, I started reading Lean Gains. That was his website. And he was promoting, and he's jacked as shit, like jacked. And he was saying, I eat during an 8-hour period, 16 hours of fasting every day of my life. And he's super strong, super jacked. I actually worked with him. Like professionally, I paid the money to have him coach me for a while. And he opened up my eyes to a lot of things. And his take is usually anywhere around like 25, 30 calories. Anything below that is still a fast. So if you're talking about sugar-free gum and black coffee, you're good. Now, if you start putting a tablespoon of cream in there, you're breaking your fast. I mean, that's digestible calories, you know? But I just wanted to illuminate people that if you're living this fast-paced, completely denatured lifestyle, you are missing out on one of the easiest ways for you to start cleaning up your diet a little bit. And that is by simply taking notice of how amazing nature can be and how much it is in tune with what you need as an animal. We are not, like, lest we forget, we're not animals. Lest we forget, we're still animals. Yeah, we're different, but we're animals. We're a living, breathing organisms, no different than a dog or a bear or a monkey. You could start saying like we're really fucking different than sea life and birds. We're different. We're weird. But to mammals, like lest we forget, we're still just mammals. We have a bigger brain and we're capable of doing this. But by that I mean we are designed to eat from the earth. I'm not some holistic guy that's like, yeah, but bread and protein shakes are the devil. No, you can, if you regulate your calories and you keep your protein at a good rate, most things will end up the same. But it does make it easier. I don't want to sound like I'm talking outside of two sides of my mouth. If you want to eat Pop-Tarts and protein shakes, but you completely, like, just meticulously monitor your calories and your protein, you could be shredded. You really can. Food quality is farther down than food amount. But eating natural foods that were earthborn and are not very far removed from how they came out of the earth or how they walked the earth, makes it so much easier to stay full and eat a quality diet. It makes it a lot easier. It's more nourishing. You will feel better and you will feel more full and you will feel more nourished by a similar amount of caloric intake. Food volume makes a difference. So I want to say that's one tip. And it doesn't have to be extreme. Go to the Arboretum. Go to the Natural History Museum. Sign up for an urban gardening program. Just go to a local farm and where they have petting zoos and stuff. Figure out how you can adopt a certain animal. Getting more in touch and really making a concerted effort. Like I said, take out your earphones and don't be watching YouTube while you do it. But you just really analyze. And I have a wealth. I don't want to encourage people who are enjoying their life to be like, move out of Chicago and move to a farm out in the rural part of the world like I did. But it has been eye-opening. It's been incredibly illuminating.
As someone who spent time in the Midwest, move out of Chicago.
I disagree. I think besides weather, if there was like aliens came down and landed on Earth, and they're like, okay, we're gonna have a World's Fair where you show us the best all creatures show us the best you have to offer, I would choose the Midwest of the United States of America. I think that's the best collection of people that we have. Now, winter in urban Midwest and urban Northeast is fucking bullshit. It is so massive bullshit. It is so freezing cold out here in Texas right now. So crazy cold.
This is an average day in Chicago, if not a warm day in Chicago winter.
And
with no wind.
Urban cold is so much more thoroughly bullshit. Slushy streets with your frozen ass windshields and muck, and then they're pouring the salt on it just so they can get through the streets, and it becomes, and then the wind whips through the buildings, and you're like, what are we, this, no. And here's my argument. 3,000 years ago, you're all dead. It's only because of extreme amounts of trial and error and the advent of heaters and parkas and things that humans are allowed to live in Reykjavik and Chicago and Stuttgart, okay? Because lest we forget again, we're animals. And this animal is made for fucking Africa and Santa Monica.
For Santa Monica, exactly.
That's where you can wear a loincloth year-round. It might get rough in December, but you're like, whew, okay. I can still go swim in the ocean and be perfectly fine. Here's another tidbit. Here's the thing. I'm old, right, kids? There used to be this thing called the newspaper that I would read. And I grew up as a guy who appreciated it. I enjoyed it opening up in the morning, take a crap and I grew up in Southern California, in Los Angeles County, and I would read the paper and notice things. And then when I was about 19, I moved to New Jersey, a place I actually like very much. I like the Garden State very much, and I like the people. But I started to notice something when I'd wake up and I'd read the New York Times and what is the Jersey? They have the Jersey paper. And I would just be glancing. And I started to notice this thing that happens there that didn't ever happen 0 times ever in Southern California. Homeless person found dead on park bench, froze to death. Black male, 32 years old, dead. Why? Because humans aren't supposed to live there. Ever. Now, it's amazing because of technology and civilization. We made coats and we made heaters and buildings that have insulation and all that. And I get that. And I love New York City. I love Chicago. I love Boston. I love it. I do. But let's not kid ourselves that if like I said, 3,000 years ago, Native Americans cruise around California, Southern California, cruise around. We're good. We're good with our titties out. Maybe some like strappy shoes. But I'm good year round, buddy. Why? Because that's what this animal is for. You know how many probably hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people had to die before people could live in in northeastern Europe? Like when people, like I'm talking long time ago, right? With the migration of humans from like Africa, where again, this animal is supposed to be. They migrated up and they made it up they'd get farther north. They get up to like northern Africa and they're like, okay, this is a little different, isn't it? And they break into Europe and they're like, okay, this England shit this is rough. All dead. Then they make it a little far. Then to make it to Scandinavia, we're talking generations of people who had to figure out how to like hollow out a yak and live in it and ferment foods. And I'm talking seriously, like seriously. And then the amount of people who, when they got there, figured out how to live there permanently. It's amazing. It's amazing. And Icelandic, German, Swedish people, like they deserve their descendants deserve credit because they probably had to go through hell to even figure out how to make civilization there. You know who didn't? Native Mexican Indians and Native American Indians in the Southwest. They're like, yeah, it's pretty cool.
That had to be the best time, right? Like the Amazon sucked. There's too many animals. Like
no, it was not the best time.
No.
You're
not even your chief.
No, because I think you could just decide to rape, and then you could decide to kill and kill. Listen, we can all wax poetic about how the internet's destroying this and kids today are that. And every year, it's the best time to be alive. You don't have to go back to civilization's past. Just read one day of life in 1925 in America, in like an awesome, like, I'm not talking war-torn place. America, 1925, just horrible. Disease, suffering, Great Depression. So even if you're balling, 1929 comes along. Also, how about I had 14 kids. 6 of them made it. Great job, Mary. Life fucking sucked. All life through all generations. Until about, you can make an argument for like the mid 80s up to now.
I was going to say 99.
You could make an argument. Okay, you could be like, it's kind of exactly the same as this, except we have these phones and this internet, and it's kind of screwed together. And I go, okay, I'll bet. But anything, 70s, you all love to look at like Studio 54, and you're like, it was so fun and free. Fucking oil crisis, horror. The Soviets are going to blow us up at any moment. Serial killers rampant in New York City. Bernie gets just shooting people. And he's like, yeah, well, they tried to mug me. And people are like, yeah, it was fucking black dudes. What are they thinking? Silly blacks. What's his name? I was about to say Fred Durst. Robert Durst, is that the guy, the murderer?
Well, both.
Many would say Fred Durst has murdered class and taste of many a million people. But Robert Durst, right? So I was watching that documentary about the dude. And he killed people. This is not open for debate. Not even like OJ open for debate. Like where we're all like, yeah, he killed. But there's no argument. He admitted to it. He essentially got hot mic caught doing it, right? And they connected the dots now with forensic science. But in the early 80s, they used to go to his apartment in New York City. I'm sure it was more of a penthouse, and there's like records of the cops would commonly go, I don't think like daily, but a couple times a year they would go to his apartment because he was beating women. And they're like, hey, tone it down, dude. Can you just keep it in line? Yeah. It was and you can sit here and say like, oh, but men were men, women were, yeah, but dude, no time is as good as now. Always. And if you have such a fascination with the way things were, you can still do that too. You can also respect all different types of ethnicities and shave with a straight razor. Or wear high-waisted pants, whatever it is that you think is, change your own oil.
Jebediah in Central Ohio, you can come join him.
Go be Amish. Go be a Mennonite. Like honestly, even like, let's say, okay, I have a lot of friends, active duty or veterans, and they talk about being in war, and it's fucking nightmarish. And I commonly, on a day-to-day basis, I think about the sacrifice that those men and women, mostly men, make just because, right? There's a time in their life when they're young and they're like, well, I don't know what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna go overseas and fight war. It's fucking crazy, right? And I think about what they do. Ask them. Compare that to World War I. Compare that to even Vietnam War, right? Like things are better now than ever before. I was reading this story about the real Peaky Blinders, the people that they based. There was a real Manchester gang that they based these guys off of. And Thomas Shelby, the Cillian Murphy character, is based on a very real guy. And this guy was a tunnel rat in World War I. Now, what that means is they fought in trench warfare. They had these big, long trenches, but they would try to dig tunnels to get to the other trenches, fuck dudes up. And there's these interviews where these guys are talking about, not video, and it's long, 1917 and stuff, but there were these writings about these guys' experience, and they would be in tunnels like barely big enough, which is hell already to me, like the claustrophobia of crawling in like a 30-yard tunnel that you're barely able to fit in, right? And they got their knife in their mouth, and they can't fit their rifle, so they have just a sidearm and like a knife in their mouth, and sometimes the tunnels would break pretty commonly, and then you're just suffocating in there. Other times he told these stories of the tunnels breaking and there be Nazis tunneling the other way, and the tunnel break, and then you're like, oh fuck, and then you have to get in a knife fight in an underground phone booth with Nazis. Like, life is horrifying. All generations before us. Do you know what it was like being an American settler of any ethnicity? Freed slave, Native American, flew over here from Europe, does it. Do you know what it was like to just get by? Fucking awful. But you did it. And now we don't have to do any of that stuff. We still have a lot of the same sufferings, there's a lot of the same questions about our existence. But don't get into this back when men were men. Because I promote that same shit. I talked about on an episode recently about how the average man in 1930 something has crazy higher testosterone than the average man in 2024. You know, and there's something to be said about that. But at the same time, the average guy in 1930 something probably lived to like 60, and it was a nightmare to those last couple years. So just take into consideration that how things are good. But I got off the tracks a little bit. All right. The next tip I'll give you is learn to cook. Do I expect you to be a Michelin-rated chef anytime in your life if you've never fucking done anything besides microwave, prepackaged food? No. But two things are at play here. Do you know how much better care I give cars than just any, let's say my wife, for instance? I take a lot better care of my cars. Why? Because I grew up working in garages. I'm not going to be on any NASCAR pit crew, but I change my own oil, I rotate my own tires and do that kind of thing. And by getting my hands dirty and having a relationship with my cars, it makes me much more concerned with how they're being treated. I prepare my own food, and it makes an incredibly big difference in how much I eat. Even me, who's like neurotic about it, if I were to have a really accurate tracking of a restaurant meal that I'd have compared to me preparing the same meal with the same ingredients, I would eat way more at a restaurant. Just people bringing me stuff on a plate, and I'm like, whoa. And people who bring me stuff on a plate whose job it is to make it taste good. It's not their job to worry about my fucking macros. And I'm not talking about, it doesn't even have to be a very elevated, fancy restaurant. A Chipotle. Let's say I make fish tacos at home. I'm going to eat 300, 400, 500 calories less than if I go get a couple fish tacos at Chipotle. One, I'm not going to have chips in front of me. I'm not going, and I'll know how many calories are in each tortilla. So when I wrap them, I'm like, I could back off on those. I'd probably add a little bit more halibut. Also, when I go to eat that, I have a relationship with that stuff. And I know it sounds cheesy. I know it sounds like hippie nonsense. I have a relationship with that food by the time it gets to my plate. And here's another thing. It absolutely is useful. Just as a tip alone, just as a narcissistic, vain, hey, I want to lose weight. Start cooking your own food, by and large. But on top of that, what are we doing? I don't care if you're the world's biggest bachelor and it's like, that's what women, you can't be a grown adult and not cook food. I get DoorDash. I get it. It's easy. And I'm not saying young kids who are busy don't do that, but I'm talking about you out there who's literally like, I don't know how to boil an egg. What are we going to do? You're not in Phi Beta Kappa. You're a 30-year-old human. Pull it together. Get up 20 minutes early. Get some egg whites and eggs and mix them together, scramble them up, enjoy it with a little oatmeal or so, and put it in something in a Tupperware for later. That aspect of it, and it's not like you're a bad person because technology has gotten so good. I mean, even just 15 years ago when I would go into work early, the options are so much different now. Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. Like with the food delivery services and even like the food prep services where they just drop it off at your front door and stuff. But there's certain things where it's like, hey, you may not have a manual transmission car. Most people don't nowadays. They just don't really make very many. But what are we doing where you have no concept of how to drive a manual transmission, right? That's the same thing as the way I look at it. You may not, like, if you are so and by the way, there's no shame in being like, I don't know how to do it, so I'm going to go on YouTube. And that alone elevates you above the, like, that's the most unattractive thing to me in women. I'd rather, like, cunty boss bitch over, I'm just so helpless. I need you to do everything for me because I'm a little woman. Like there's some girls, it's a lot less than generations past, but there's some girls who's like, I can't pump my own gas. I'm just a woman. I'm just a silly woman. I can't be able to do my own check. I can't balance my checkbook. I'm just a woman. Like, stop that. And so I only point that out as like, that's a really unattractive thing. I will be the first to admit when I can't do stuff, but I'll always try. Frustrates the shit out of my wife. Shit goes wrong with the electrical. I'm always like, I don't know. I have no fucking clue what is up, but I'm going to open up a panel on the wall. I'm going to give it a shot. I got to give it a shot. You got to let me give it a shot before I call a professional. Frustrates the shit out of my wife. I'm on YouTube looking at, so I have no idea what's negative and positive.
That was the end of Mike Catherwood.
Yeah. I actually recently drew a line with electrical. Now it's the like plumbing, because anything carpentry or mechanical, I may not be able to fix it, but I won't fuck it up. Plumbing, I'll fuck it up, and I still do it. Electrical, my wife literally said that. She's like, you're gonna kill yourself, and I go, you know what? You're right. And I'd love to say like I just listen to my wife, but my neighbor, we've talked about on the show before, Clyde, who was a professional. He's retired, but he was a professional contractor for years, and he's a local Texas guy, real manly, like big chewing tobacco. And he's like, let me tell you what, Mike. And he's like, don't mess with electrical. He's like, the stakes are too high. You flood your house because you got macho with the plumbing, so be it. You make mistakes with this. He's like, you'll die, or you can be handicapped. You understand? And I go, okay, all right, fair enough. But either way, I try. And there's something to that, right? The biggest difference, because people always ask this question, how come if people are working out more and more invested in nutritional science now than ever before, how come more people are fat than ever before in this country? Right? My dad, he didn't know gyms existed. That's for the idea of a gym. He'd be like, wait, you're not playing a sport? You just go and you exercise? And he's like, that sounds silly. And that goes up into like the 80s, like the idea of like, he's like, well, just go run or something. Go outside, go play basketball, go boxing with your friends. And now in 2024, everyone, senior citizens and shit, they have gym memberships. Children are starting to really get into fitness, but yet at all age ranges, we're all fatter than ever before. So people ask, why do you think that is? I don't know. I have my thoughts. And these are my thoughts based on what I've seen. Because everyone I know goes to the gym. Out of shape or in shape or what. Everyone I know talks about like, I got to go see my trainer. But 20% of people are in good shape and 80 are not, right? The difference between the 20 that consistently do it for over long periods of time and the 80 who don't is that the 20 who stay in really good shape are never at a loss for what they're going to eat. Whether they're executives or they're my buddy who works in construction or they're in the military or a cop, the guy who is overweight with man tits, that's my friend's partner on the law enforcement. He's just like shows up to work and he's like, I got an 8-hour shift, 10-hour shift. I got to drive around Austin and bust criminals. I'll figure out something to eat. I don't, when I get hungry, I'll drive through. And my buddy is in really good shape. Black belt in jiu-jitsu. Kind of a badass. He's got his Tupperware. I understand Tupperware could be kind of a bummer, like smells and stuff. I get that. But even if he didn't have his Tupperware, he has on his beat, he has like, that's where Hop Dottie is. That's where the grass-fed beef place is. And I'll go in and I'll get, like I'll figure it out when I get there. Their idea of eating, and it doesn't have to preclude it being tasty to you, but their idea of eating is very, very structured. Even if I go on a road trip with my family, because I'm not that guy who's going to bring Tupperware on a road trip or like on a plane. But if I am going on a plane, you better believe I'll take 5 fucking minutes. It's not like my whole day to analyze what Austin Airport has to offer for food. If I'm driving to San Antonio, between Austin and San Antonio, I will see if there's like a Whole Foods on the way. Maybe if there's not Whole Foods, like maybe there's a grass-fed burger place, or maybe there's a good barbecue place. I can get some smoked meats. There's never a time when I'm just like, oh shit, whoo, I'm starving. Let me just find near food. And for the most part, the people that I see that consistently do that, as well, they're not those people either. All right, so get in better touch with nature. Doesn't have to be much. Don't be so detached from nature, because it'll actually help you appreciate the food that you put in your mouth. Analyzing other animals eating and stuff too. It does something. Learn how to cook. And my last final tip for you is to stop judging food by whether it's good or bad. Completely look at food as, how is this going to make me feel? When I was preparing for bodybuilding shows, I got literally eating disorders. And I wasn't that extreme with it. Because everything was like, but how much calories? Everything was like chicken breast good, chicken thigh too much skin, too much fat, chicken on the bone bad. It got so, everything was good or bad. Now, if you're a competitive bodybuilder or a fitness model, maybe that's what you need to do. But that's different because you're getting paid for it. But at regular people, so all day they spend, it's like, I went to McDonald's, I'm bad, this food is bad. Oh, I had steamed broccoli, that's good. No, how about this? When I had that number 3 combo meal from McDonald's, I was sluggish and lethargic all day. The other day when I had this ground meat that I made myself with a little bit of rice and some veggies on the side, I felt light, felt good, felt tight, felt like I had it all tightened up, and I was able to go do more work, and I actually felt pretty good. I didn't feel too bloated and sluggish. I noticed every time I go to Thanksgiving, fly home to Los Angeles, and I'm like sitting down with the family, it's nice to be around, and then about halfway through the meal, I was like, I feel fucking awful. I feel awful. It was worth it, because this is an experience, but fuck, I'm sweating and it's 70 degrees in here. I can't move. My dad's watching the Laker game in the other room. I can't make it to the other room. I don't want to do this anymore. And it's real easy, just November 26th, for me to get back on the horse because I was like, I felt awful. I don't want to feel awful. And when I stopped getting neurotic about like, will this make me look more ripped? Will this make me look more buff? This is going to make me puffy. This is going to blah, blah, blah. I just started going, I know. And by the way, you don't have to get too over the top with it where it's like, well, only this narrow thing makes me feel good. Here's a perfect example. The other day, my wife and daughter and I are all in the car. We're driving home. It's a Saturday, and we were coming back from like my daughter's play date thing. And they're like, we're craving In-N-Out. Yeah, okay, I'm down with that. We'll pass one here on 1431. Let's pop in. So I'm in line. I'm like, I'm not personally in the market for In-N-Out. I was going to go home and have this strip steak that I had been marinating, but I was like, I'll have that later. So I'm in In-N-Out. I'm enjoying the time with my family. So I get to the thing. I order my wife's food, the drive-up window, and I order my daughter's food. I order my wife's food, and then I'm looking at it, and I go, I'm getting a double-double. I'm pretty sure that if I get it with the bun, I'll feel a little bit, because it's only like noon, and I got a lot to do today. I might feel a little bit sluggish. So if I get it protein style, meaning no bun, get some good quality meat in my system, and I'll probably be good. And I won't get a 4x4 because then I'll be loaded down. I'll get a double animal style or protein style. And I got 2 patties with cheese and some grilled onions wrapped in lettuce, and then I ate it, and then I was fucking Bob's your uncle for the rest of the day, as they say in good old Australia. Hey, Bob's your uncle, mate. I was good to go. And then 3-4 hours later, I got hungry. I had that strip steak that I was thinking about. I went from, if I have this, I'll probably feel pretty good about things. If I have this, I won't feel very good. This will not be good and kind to me. This will. Not, this will keep me leaner. This will keep me ripped. This is on my diet. This is on my diet. Start looking at things like, how can I nourish myself head to toe? How can I definitely detract from my life head to toe? Which it can do. And that leaves you open to the times when you're like, I'm craving fucking pizza. That pizza looks amazing. I'm pretty sure it'll make me feel good. It makes me feel good. And I have a couple slices of pizza and I was like, I do feel good. That was happy. That was a happy experience. Anyway, so those are my top 3 tips. And suck my dick. And thank you to everybody who watches or listens to the show. Spread the word so we could build it up. It means a lot to me. Thank you to all my patrons. The fact that you would take your hard-earned money and give it to me is it's not overlooked. It means a lot. And in this crazy mixed up world that makes you think that nobody cares, remember, I do. Be good.